some players are dangerous when they're coming
Right.
back from the loser side, knowing they have to win if they're going to try to get to that top four to, play against the king of the hill and all that. So you never know. The more you play, the fresher you feel.
Right.
So it's not necessarily, obviously, you always want to win. But
Yeah.
at a tournament like this where the gaps between matches are going to be wide because there's 133 players at the NIV, and between gold bracket, purple, and pink, there's a lot of matches to go through and 20 machines. So
Right.
time is going to be of the essence.
And then the one thing I'd like to add is, like you mentioned with Mark Steinmark losing, it almost, you want to win. The problem is when you're winning, you're sitting longer, like you mentioned. When you lose that first game, he's got a chance to plow through the loser's bracket, and there's no real time to sit down and get kind of rusty. If you get into a good rhythm, which a player like him can, I mean, he's got a chance of going through the loser's bracket and getting right back up there with a chance to win.
Yeah, and I know we've seen it a few times with Stenmark where there's times where he run, for a long time ran through everybody, never lost a match in Power Events tournament history, but he has a chance now to just bulldoze his way through, and we've seen that happen. Like Stenmark is one of those guys who's gone through and not lost a single match, but he's also lost his first match, come back and win. So
he's a two-time world champion.
Yeah.
If anyone's capable to do it, it's him.
Absolutely. So talking about Mark Stenmark, 2017 world champion, 2019 world champion. Always somebody that is not, is feared if you're a newer player playing against him, somebody might not play him in match play often because even if you get a stroke or two on him, you hit some better shots or he messes up, that he's the guy that has a real solid chance of holding out to come back and potentially beat you there. So,
and that's exactly what happened at the World Championships. Actually, on hole 15 of Agave, he went for a shot. It looked like he was going to be giving up a stroke, and he ended up pulling it off from the fairway to get eagle and kind of keep things moving along. And that's just doing what
that's
how
Stenmark is. When it comes to match play, he's one of the best. He's definitely part of that Golden Tee Mount Rushmore. It almost has to be a Golden Tee Mount Rushmore of every era of Golden Tee, just because Golden Tee's been around 30 years. You're talking about 3 eras of tournaments, national tournaments, world championships, power events, Golden Tee tournaments, Club Lucky, all that. So Stenmark is definitely one of those guys at the top, 2-time world champion. If there was a world championship while Stenmark was on his Power Events tournament run, Stenmark would probably be a 3- or 4-time world champion.
I agree 100%. And early on in the day, going back to Mount Rushmore, you got guys like Steve Sobey, who's actually here today, and Ryan Bourgeois, and the Graig Kinzler, it's interesting because he won a Worlds earlier on and then won it again later. So he's kind of been a part of both eras, if you want to call it that.
I think Chris Eversole and Kinsler, the 2-time world champs that won a championship in the Golden Tee 4 era and the Golden Tee Live era. So it's fun to talk about and reflect, especially at the NIV 17. Talk about a lot of history. This tournament started in 2003 when Golden Tee 4 was just in its 3rd year.
Right.
So to see what Jefe and the Baja Bean and his hospitality and his friendship, we talk a lot all the time on these streams at these events. It's not just a friendship you're making with people. Like, you kind of get pulled into the family, and
it is a family.
Jefe is a big part of that. So thank you to Jeff, to Jefe, as everyone has come to know him. And it looks like we got Graig Kinzler coming up for the next match. So it's funny that we're talking about the 2-time world champ, and this will be a good one.
And for those that don't know, Graig Kinzler is a well-known name. 2-time champion, went on a great run at the Worlds this past year, getting a 4th place, top 4 finish there. Dan Gillard out of Texas. I got a chance to play him in match play down in Houston about a year and a half ago or so, and he's a pretty solid player, actually. He's really calm, cool, and collected. He played Ben Furlan his first match, and he had a 2-stroke lead, I believe, and kind of gave it back later on. So it'll be interesting to see if that carries over to this match. It looks like, so they're both in the loser's bracket. So Kinsler must have lost to Al Zarol his first match. So this is a match to where whoever loses is out of this tournament.
Yeah, and to see Dan's a great guy. He's a solid player. He's one of those players that over the last couple of years is starting to make more of those runs. The fact that he's in the top 32 at a stacked field tournament like the NIV with 133 people. We've had string of tournament events in 2019 where we had 100+ players at these national events, but for something like the Baja Bean, which is in Richmond, it's not like the center where like St. Louis.
It's not an easy place to get to.
Exactly, and the fact that we beat the record of attendees by over 50 or nearly.
Well, it was 50, by 50 last year. They've had over 100 in St. Louis, but I think of at least 10
specifically
or so.
for the NIV. So this will be interesting to see what balls he ends up using here. So he is going to go with the Titan golf ball, and Mouth talked a lot about this. Have you had a chance to use the new equipment?
I have not. I do look forward to trying it out. I've heard a lot of good things about the new Titan ball here for 2020. Heard it's comparable to actually the balls that I use, the Streaks. The Streaks are known to go the furthest. They don't have a whole lot of backspin. They go a little higher than the other balls. Mouth, Mark McClevich, he's been playing this game for a long time. He knows his stuff. That's going to hit the tree on the way to the green. But the Titan ball is something I am going to experiment with when I get home, actually, and we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, yes, people talk about the new equipment and the not the advantages, but, you're getting a golf ball that you use in the Streak, and you're adding extra spin and a different aspect like that. But it's not something you want to necessarily try a new golf ball at a tournament.
Right, exactly.
You got to go with what you're comfortable with, what you're used to playing. So absolutely makes sense here.
I had a pretty good feeling he was going to go straight at it. He's going to get a couple good bounces there and roll right on the green. And Dan's shaking his head here thinking, why did I go for that shot around the A1? Going back to what Kevin was talking about, those dynamic tee boxes, although hole one sets up for an eagle pretty often, it puts you in different places. The tree was in play on that look, and he unfortunately didn't think about that. So Kinsler's going to make this putt here. He's going to move on to the second hole with the one-stroke lead. It's always great to have a lead. When I played in the qualifier with Kinsler yesterday, I know in the back of his head he's thinking about this second hole right now, which he put in the sand on the left-hand side. And we were both kind of talking about this hole, how the elevation's kind of quirky with it. The pin's in a decent spot right now, but it's still a three-wood shot. And we both know that it's offset a little bit there. When I say offset, left and right, it's off just a little bit. But he's going to play this safe, put it right in the middle of the green there. It's a beautiful shot. Kins might be on a mission here. Going back to Mark Stenmark, he's saying how he's a guy that could go through the loser's bracket and get to the finals. Graig Kinzler is thinking about that same thing right now.
Yeah, I honestly would be shocked if Kins does not make a solid run on the loser side of the bracket, because him and Stenmark are actually, really comparable. Stenmark, two-time world champion, Kinsler, two-time world champion, but Kinsler has done these tournaments, has played in hundreds, probably maybe thousands of tournaments in his Golden Tee lifetime. Since 1999, we talked to him previously. That's how long he's been playing, 20 years now. When he gets on fire, when he gets hot like he did at the Tournament of Champions in 2018 in October, he's dangerous. He's just like Stenmark in that regards. He doesn't play as much as he used to, but he's here to have fun, enjoy himself, celebrate the NIV and Hefe, and he could definitely pull out a win here.
Yeah, and he's in a good frame of mind. He's here with his wife Courtney. They've got a busy life at home with their children, and they're able to kind of be away on a little mini vacation, just the two of them, for the first time in a long time, I believe.
And this is actually their anniversary weekend, and I love Kins, and if you don't know Kinsler personally, don't judge him. It was not Greg's decision to come out here for their anniversary. It was actually Courtney's, because Courtney, former Incredible Technologies employee on the marketing side like I am, she knows and loves every single one of the people at this event, loves Hefe. So it doesn't surprise me that she said, Kins, let's go. Yeah. I want you to play Golden Tee. I want to see the family. So it's fun. Kinsler's got that motivation too. Like his kids are watching at home. His wife's here by his side.
Right.
She's been by his side through his big, victories, right there watching him. So again, the power of the family being here, watching him live, I think will play an effect with Kins' game. Yeah,
it's funny as it might sound, I don't think there's any other place they'd like to be right now. Like you said, they're with their Golden Tee family and they're together. So that's happy.
Now, I love this par 5 because there's so many different ways you can go at it. You can go left, you can go right, you can even go in the middle.
What's funny is I just saw that fairway on the right side. I've never gone right. it's kind of hidden over there, but that does give you another opportunity at the hole.
This is definitely like the poster child of dynamic tee boxes. Like that rough you see on the bottom left of the top-down view, anywhere that a green can pop up in match play, whether you're playing at home online or whatever the case is. So this can set up for 450-yard par 5, or even a 650 par 5. These guys kind of in the middle at 570, so don't have to worry too much about distance in their approach shots.
Yeah, and here the green is, there's really no slope at it. That up 1 degree, left 1 degree, but he has that tree as an obstacle. They're both going to have to maneuver their ball. I don't know if that forward's going to get underneath that tree. Kinsler might be close enough to hit maybe a 3 hybrid. I'm not sure if he has that club in his bag or not, but it looks like he's about 40 yards closer. So we'll kind of see how Dan plays this hole here and what Kinsler's got in his back pocket.
Yeah, that's why you're seeing him. He's thinking it over, because although it's early, he knows he's playing against Kinsler. He knows that if he gives Kinsler any opportunity, he's going to capitalize it. So for somebody watching at home being like, well, why is he taking so much time? you're using a wood, and you're trying to avoid the tree. So he actually ended up pretty solid shot.
Yeah,
there.
pretty solid, pretty safe. That 30-footer, it's easy to make it home, and there's that 3 hybrid he has in his bag. So it wouldn't surprise me if he just hits that straight at the pin. It's going to get right underneath that tree. Ooh, nice shot by Kinsler. And the thing is, I always compare video golf and real golf for that matter to the game of pool. You're always thinking about your next shot. So when he hit that drive, he was probably hoping to have that 3 hybrid for his next shot. If he was a little bit further back, he'd be in the same situation Dan was, where he'd have to pick a wood to go after the hole. And this course, by the way, this is the same one we just saw. So if you guys are watching the previous match between Steve Cook and Chris Brewer, I'm not sure if this is the same setup or not.
Yeah, I was just wondering that. So the way Golden Tee Live games work is that every game is a 50-player contest. So although these guys are playing head-to-head matches, they are playing the online prizes portion of Golden Tee Live. So you might end up seeing these guys in the same setups, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you're going to see tons of different shot making, shot ability. That's the fun thing about these live streams is that Dan and Kin seem to have a similar play style.
Right.
But you watched if you've watched the Mark Stenmark and Paul Taylor match, completely different clubs and balls and styles. So these guys, pretty straightforward shot here for hole 5.
And what's interesting, for those who are watching Graig Kinzler's shot there, he made that look easy. Playing out of the sand, he had that tree right in his way. He had to find a way to go around on the right-hand side. And look at that. He put it right in the hole. It's a tie game there. But what Kinsler did there, he made it look really easy. But he had to cut it out of the sand to get it around the tree, but get it to the green still. So he had to hit a little bit harder. He hit a great shot. Obviously, Dan hit a better shot. He put it in the hole. And here he is. That one stroke that Kinsler got in the first hole is now been canceled out, and we got a tie ball game going into this par 3 here.
Yeah, and the fact that he did it so early in the game, I think, is good for him, because anytime you hit a hole out in match play, whether it's to gain a stroke or to tie the game back up, whether it's anytime you hit a hole out, it's a great feeling, especially when you're doing it on the live stream and people are watching. But you and I have both been in those positions. You hole out, and then it motivates you to start dialing in more shots, because you're like, hey, I've already holed out. Let me keep going.
Yeah.
And you can, you got to question whether you get aggressive. But we've seen it happen in the past with other players where you hit a hole out and the ball keeps rolling.
Yeah, and there, it's also the confidence level. Dan right there just got a hole out. It gives him that frame of mind to where, going forward, it's like, all right, I'm playing one of the best players in the world right now. I'm on the live stream. I just hold out. This is easy for me. I can do this. Kinsler looked. Although he looks a little confused as to wow, he nailed it. He was planning on steamrolling this match, and all of a sudden we're back to even, and things got to change now. He's got to, because of that hole out, he has to approach the rest of this game differently. And there are a couple different ways to go after this hole. There's up on the fairway where Dan's looking, and there's also off to the left-hand side there. The ball's going to play differently out of the fairway than it does the rough. The pin's tucked up there on the top of the green. I personally go to left side every time. We'll see.
I've played both shots. I like the shot out of the rough because you're not going to have as much spin. So you
right. And that's why I like it as well.
For this pin, it's interesting because it's. I would like this shot more if the pin was at the back end of the green, because then you could just roll it up there.
And here, when you hit that shot, you see those trees there. You're trying to position it in a spot to where the trees aren't in play, because like I mentioned before with Kinsler's shot out of the sand, the ball plays the same way out of the rough. If you want to try to cut the ball out of the rough, it's going to take some distance off. So here, when Kinsler hits his next shot here, he wants to hit the fairway before he gets to the green. He wants that bounce. He wants it to bounce over the fringe, hit the green, and then spin a little bit towards the hole.
Now he actually, that could have been a lot. It could have been a lot worse off there. He did not catch too much of the green, so although he's in the rough and he's going to have a little bit of a chip, if he would have caught more of that green and backspun, he'd be
in the sand probably right now.
Yeah, he'd be a lot deeper. So this is not anything for him to worry about. Of course, he actually might even be able to putt that.
I'm not sure about him putting it. This is not the easiest putt in a tournament here. Right fours, for right-handed players, are a little bit harder than left slope putts. But Kinsler's got to make this chip, and this chip will have a. Not that's going to determine that. You're right. He might be able to putt that. But this left four, it's going to start breaking really quick, depending on how hard he hits this chip. It's right in the middle of the cup.
Yeah, but Kins has never had problems with chipping. So,
no.
and again, What you do when you're playing Golden Tee, whether it's at a local establishment you're playing online, or even if you have a home edition you're playing online, what you do in the comfort of your own zone is much different than when you come to these tournaments and play in match play, high stakes on the line. It's a lot different, and you know that I sometimes it takes people longer to realize that. But the moment you get in instances like Dan is, he didn't get the lead with his hole out earlier, but he's leading the way. He's leading the charge because he was able to, eliminate that advantage Kins got by making his putt on hole 1.
Yeah, one thing here, this hole, for those that don't know, this is the design hole. Incredible Technologies every year. It runs a contest where you could submit an application, design your own hole. They have a whole process where they have, eliminate certain ones, get down to top 10, then top 3. This was the winner this year. It's a great hole. The dynamic tee boxes, put the box in different places. This is playing 270 to the pin. Sometimes it'll play like 210 to the pin.
Yeah.
The one thing that's interesting where that pin's at, the way this was designed, that the bottom of the green has no friends. So if you miss your putt, you're wet.
Yeah, Jim loves that. I wish he does more of it. I think he will, because we talked when Golden Tee 2020 came out on a live stream, and he loves, always trying to do things differently every year. You talk about almost 31 years of Golden Tee.
Right.
You got to start coming up, he comes out with more and more creative stuff every year, which goes to show you, the brain, the mastermind that is Jim Zielinski, the course designer.
And it is, and you can even round it to 31 years, because I'm sure that the way things work is once he's done with the 30th year of designing courses, he's already thinking about 31. He's got ideas and things are already in the works.
It wouldn't surprise me if Jim already had courses in his mind, like a location and stuff kind of sketched out for Golden Tee 2022 at this rate, because of how smart he is and how quick he works.
This hole right here has got a little bit of an elevation up. This way he's playing the 6 with the 3-iron hybrid that Kinsler might shoot, which is probably what I would play. We'll go right at the pin.
I was a little concerned with the release, and I'm one that I love putting release or bite on my shots, but having that 9 wood, I'm surprised he put spin on that at all.
See, the thing with that 3 hybrid right there, he knows it comes in low, and if you don't hit it right, you're going to catch the front of that green there, and it's not going to go. That's why he's playing it safe, hit that 6 wood. Going to have a nice easy 20-foot putt here. Dan, it's not the easiest. He's going to have to chip that. And the ball comes out differently out of that first cut. The second it hits that green, it starts moving left, or whatever the slope might be, which is left 3 in this case.
Now, Dan's got an interesting approach to chips. Like, he actually steps to the side.
Yeah.
Clearly it works for him. It's fun to see the different playing styles and how people go about it.
And that is going to...
That's the problem, because with it being a par 3, now he's chipping for par, and
it's a 2-stroke swing right there.
Yeah,
and they both hit decent shots. Dan just went a little bit long. That's why it's important to hit greens and fairways. Right there, it's going to cost him 2 strokes. But like we talked about the other match, this is one of the most difficult courses in Golden Tee 2020. There's a back 9 here. There's 9 more holes that he's got a chance. He was able to hole out earlier on. Maybe he can do it a couple more times.
Yeah, you don't want to give up. It's tough. I personally, as somebody who's, this is my 8th year of attending these tournaments and, playing them and whatnot, you can't let your mind take over when you make a mistake, because then you're going to just continue, and those mistakes are going to snowball. So I don't want to say it's a good thing that it's a good thing that it happened on the front 9.
Right, and one thing I'd like to add, and I talked about it yesterday if you guys were listening to the stream then, I mentioned the term downward spiral. If you let it get into your head, you're going to, it's going to continue to go downhill. What Dan's got to do is he's got to build his confidence back up. He's kind of in chase mode right now. He's down 2 strokes to a former world champion, but at the same time, the 2-stroke lead is nice and all for Kins, but he knows he's 1 water ball away that he makes, and Dan, gets an eagle, and then they're all tied up again. So,
and that's where Kins, not playing as much as he used to, really comes into play. These courses have been out for 2.5 weeks now, a little bit. So I know Kins obviously has played a lot of it, but he knows that, like you said, he's 1 mistake away for the swing going the other way back towards Dan, and I don't think you're going to see him get too aggressive. Kins, over the years, has been in so many of those situations. I think he is smart enough where he's going to stop himself and say, okay, do I really need to do this? I got a 2-stroke lead. Let's just take a step back and refocus with his shots there.
That's going to spin up a little high. There's going to have an easy putt going in. I'm curious how Dan approaches this one. This is one of those holes where Dan was probably thinking, okay, I got a chance to maybe gain a stroke if Kinsler hits a bad shot. He really needs to get this one close, because there's a huge difference between that 2-stroke lead and 3-stroke lead, like I was talking about with the 1 water ball. Well, when you get to a 3-stroke lead, that 1 water ball, it's okay. you're still going to have one. His is going to spin off the green there.
Yeah.
And he's going to be chipping. Didn't seem very comfortable with his lob wedge chip a couple holes ago. It'll be really interesting how he attacks this one. If he tries to go with a low iron like a 6 or a 7, it's going to catch that lip there. He's going to go with a higher iron like that, like the 9, maybe even a wedge of some sort to get over the fringe and let that green, let the slope of the green help the ball roll towards the hole. It was a good chip. He went after it. You know, he lost a stroke, but that's all he's going to lose here.
Yeah, and he was at a nice point where the pin, there was so much green past the cup. You know, he didn't have to worry about getting a water ball, and so going aggressive there is not bad. It didn't pay off, but he's got some time.
This hole, there's a few different places you can go there. You can see where he's looking right now in that rough patch, and it's got that sand. You can go left in that patch. For those that want to be more conservative, you can go right of that sand. You can play the fairway. It really all depends on what club you want to use, you know, and how you want the ball to play coming out of the rough or the fairway. Where they're at, you can see where it says 323, where that driver marker is, 506 to the pin. They'll have probably about 150, 140 yards to the pin. 7 iron, he's going to be a little closer. So and then there's Kinsler with 148 yards. He'll use a 6 iron, maybe thumb that 5 iron out to the left a little bit and have it spin back towards the hole.
Yeah, he's got, like you brought up before, didn't really worry too much there because he's coming out of the rough, but the hybrid comes in, it's a low lofter club.
Right.
So it doesn't look like it from far away, but that's a huge drop in elevation when it comes to like the water. Like there's a lot, if he hits that short, it was most likely going to hit you know, the rock wall and go back into the water. So he played it smart there and hit it a little bit harder. He has a 25-foot putt, but nothing to sneeze at for him.
No, and he knows, and they both know. Oh, he's not going to. That's very generous of Greg to make that putt for him, the way Dan's been playing. But here we go into that 13th hole. It's going to be a different setup. They're in a different contest. So if you were watching previously, when you saw someone go wet and someone lay up.
This is actually, I really like the setup. You notice Kins just went right at it.
Is it going to hop over it, or it's going to stay? Oh, it's a beautiful shot by Kinsler.
You can see he got a little nervous there, but this is a really, really solid setup.
And this is one of those ones where Dan knows, I got to put this on the green. You can't go down 5 strokes in match play.
I am surprised he's using backspin. I would almost use bite.
And it's almost similar to the way the look was in the qualifier. The qualifier was, that's got to get up.
See, and if he had
gonna roll
bite,
down.
that's the same thing we just saw Cook do in the previous game on this course. If he would have had bite, he probably would have been okay.
It probably, yeah. In the qualifier, I believe it was like 342 with a 10 crosswind. But the pin was, that's a beautiful chip. Look at that. I mean, he's not down 5. I stand corrected. He's going to be down 4 strokes. And, we're getting later on in the match here. The confidence is still kind of there, but he knows being down 4 strokes to Kinsler, it's not that it's not going to happen.
Kinsler's in his groove now.
Yeah. All right.
Tapping you out.
All right, so
Mark the mouth. McClevich is going to be joining Kevin here.
yeah, Brian's got
play, so
business to go attend to. So thanks for joining us, Brian. And we're going to have Mouth analyzing the last couple holes here of. Oh, look at that! And Kinsler just nails the ace. Kinsler nails the ace. So Kinsler with the ace, making that a 5-stroke lead he has on Dan going into hole 14. So it was a solid game. Mouth, thank you for joining us. Welcome back, Mouth.
Thank you.
We're taking a look at Dan Gillard and Graig Kinzler. Dan's down 5 strokes now. He had a stroke lead earlier, but Kinsler just nailing an ace on hole 14. So it's going to be tough for Dan to come back here.
And if I'm playing Kinsler in a match and I'm down that many strokes, I know Kinsler is very sharp in match play. He's not going to go for something stupid coming up here and cost him 2 strokes. He's going to lay up. Like, is 15? Okay, so this is not a great look for this, right? And honestly, Kinsler's playing a really safe shot if he cuts it enough.
Yeah.
All right, good. Now, see me, if I'm trying to make this, I'm probably going to the right under the trees. Actually, this is too good.
This is one of those. This is a fun setup. This is a fun hole because there is so many different options with those tee boxes, the dynamic tee boxes we talked about. Yeah, Dan kind of knows it. Like he's got to get aggressive, and I've done this myself in tournaments, and I'm sure, Mouth, you have too, where you try to, you're in your head, you're trying to be aggressive, but you just end up, whiffing the shot and not hitting the shot you thought you did.
Oh, absolutely, and it's not even that. Now, it's so bad because you look at a score, and he's going to look to Kins and say that he lost by 8 or something, right? But that's not how the match went. It wasn't an 8-stroke. It wasn't a slaughtering. It's that he got down 1, Kins hits an ace, and now he's got to go back and try to make up shots left and right because you're playing Kinsler. He's not going to tank holes to you.
Yeah, and so Kinsler made the putt in on 1. Dan tried going for the A1 and didn't get it. So Kins was already up from the beginning, and then Dan actually holed out to tie. And then just unfortunate on some of the drivable par 4s that Dan had a few missteps. And now, of course, Kinsler being Kinsler, hitting the ace and making that 5 strokes.
It's tough. It's tough.
These are tough holes coming up, 16 and 18.
Okay, but on this one, if you look right off the start, the wind is dead in your face on the second shot. Where Dan just put it, he's just not. I think he's probably dialed out of this match a little bit. But where Kins put it, this is an easy look for him. There's no doubt. There's no way Kins doesn't make eagle here. If he does, he gets a birdie now because he misses a putt. But if you look where Dan did, he knows better. He knows he needs to get up as close as you can to the fringe or fairway cut there without going in the rough. I did that. That was a mistake of mine in the qualifier. I went in the rough, and it's hard to stick this because it's a down 10. And with the balls that we're playing, they don't have a ton of spin out of the rough. So with a down 10, you can't get aggressive then. He's not. This isn't a good spot for him. He's probably got I'd even think he might have to hit a 3-wood here.
Yeah, he went out too much on that. So he's going to have a rough chip. And you're looking at down 8, left, I believe, 7 when he was facing the cup. So he's got to be real careful there.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, here they know. I'm not looking at their faces too much. At this point in time, you'd see Kinsler. He's going to start smiling and chatting with Dan a little bit here. And on cue, there's Kins smiling because there's not a way he can lose from here. Wow, wait, Kins is on a 31 too. I shot a 31 once. Yeah, Kins is going to get that 31, it looks like. Hey, Jamaica Bay 18 can be a challenge, though. The problem is it can be a challenge, except it's not a challenge hole that's a bogey hole ever or a par hole.
Right.
It's a birdie
no water.
challenge.
There's water in play with the fountain, but there's no water around the green, which is actually, I'm surprised Jim did not do that.
Okay. So now we got, you see, he's going to try to, but there's not, obviously it's already done. You can't make up this many strokes in 2 holes.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't get to see the early part of the match from what you were saying, and he's dialed out. I don't even, for Dan's sake, I almost hope he's aces 18, because then the next match he plays, then he'll be in a lot better headspace.
Well, the problem actually is I believe this is a loser's side bracket.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so Dan, that's why, Dan knows that it's
over for him?
It's over, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this setup. So we got those rocks in front of the green. You got a lot of stuff to deal with. If I need to make this shot, I'm not trying that shot. So if I'm Dan, I'm going around to the right with a high tee, probably 6 or 5 wood, and playing it to bounce the path before and to one hop up, hopefully hit the rough or the sand, and to trickle on. Coming this way, you've got such a small distance because the rocks are in play. Think of that as a little line you can't hit. Just like that.
Exactly, yeah.
You have to land that within a 5-foot window or else it's not there. And to play a cut shot with any lofted club and land it in a 5-foot window, it's damn near impossible. Kinsler was lucky that he was at 78 feet. If that putt was sitting down at the 77 to 76 or less than that, he might not have gotten up that hill in one try.
Yeah, it was interesting that he just went right at it.
Well, he saw his distance being that it's 78, and he should get a longer putter, which makes it go.
Yeah, go farther distance there. So
Dan made some chips while I was watching here.
Well, the one thing we talked about, so Kins takes down Dan, so Dan's out of the tournament here. But, I don't think it's a bad thing that the Kins, lost his first match because now he's on a path where he's going to be constantly playing. And when Kinsler, just like we talked about with Stenmark, he's in that loser's bracket, but the more he plays, the he's not sitting down and taking breaks.
The bigger thing is, though, did they happen to line up? I didn't see the brackets at all. If you've looked, for my sake, I'm hoping that those two are on the same side of the bracket. Right? I want them to knock each other out really soon here. One of them to be gone.
Now, how did things go with you?
I played Taylor Bell out of Houston, and he's a stout guy, but I had one shot. I stroke limited a hole, but I ended up coming back, and I shot one better the rest of the way. Shot at 25, and he missed some putts. But I got to show him why he's missing his putts, so that was good for him.
That's the fun thing about these events, especially, you're meeting new people. You are one of the best at, meeting new people and teaching them and talking.
Oh, no, come on, Kevin. I'm shy. I'm very shy.
Yes.
I don't talk to many people. In fact, this is out of my comfort zone talking to you folks.
No, but seriously, that's the fun thing about coming to these live events, whether it's a huge event like the NiV or even like small local operator tournaments, is you're meeting new people, you're playing more Golden Tee, you're learning shortcuts and tricks. So highly recommend coming to a tournament, no matter who's putting it on. Meet people, join the Golden Tee family, but also you're gonna get better. You're gonna go home. You're gonna beat your friends a lot more. You're gonna force them to play more Golden Tee and challenge you. It's a lot of fun.
It is. So then, what Taylor was doing though in our match was, and it's something I recommend you guys don't on putts especially. He slapped at the ball, and you heard it thump when he hit the ball on his putts. When I'm watching his hand, where he's aiming is correct, but it doesn't read where you're aiming when you're thumping at the ball. On putts, you don't need to hit them hard. You get the max distance. You don't have to hit a putt harder to get it to go farther. So a smoother contact on it will make sure the ball's sticking on the roller and it's going true to where you're aiming.
Actually, we saw that with Steve Sobey yesterday, because I was making fun of him and joking with him because he is so smooth and slow with his putts, but it doesn't matter because they're hitting the bottom of the cup.
Yep, and there's no speed on putts really. The distance is determined by the distance away from the hole. You're getting it there unless it's certain weird distances. It's getting there. So be smooth. You don't have to hammer a putt hardly ever.
Look at that. Already giving out tips, and he's only been on with us for a little bit here. So we are going to step away for a little bit. We're going to come back with more gold bracket matches here at the NiV 17. I'm Kevin Lindsay. Mouth, thank you for joining us. I'm sure we'll hear from you again, my friend.
I'll stop by every chance I get.
Oh, yeah. We'll be back soon.
Time to hit the links with a round of Golden Tee Golf.
Yeah.